What is up, guys? Welcome back to Devs Who Can't Code. I'm going to be doing this run by myself because I kind of had a change of heart in the strategy that we were taking. I found myself leaning on hope too much in just kind of the direction of things. Now that we've sat down and laid out the framework for how we want to build this thing and kind of the mindset that I should take going into it, I thought that the best thing would actually be to start building it myself. And then maybe we do a review or analysis of how good and or what might need to change about the build with hope. And I actually did a full 2.5, almost 3 hours trying to get like a baseline build working for a single tiny app function with FFmpeg. But it ended up being like literally everything worked. Every single thing, every single piece that I did worked all the way up until the very end when I went to execute it and put the two things together, and then it failed. And then I could just tell. I was doing this with Claude from Anthropic, by the way. I could tell immediately that I was hitting my context limit. It was no longer properly reframing. Like, it just got too big to the point that I could no longer do what I was trying to do. And I almost published it just so that we could follow along and kind of learn what not to do. But I felt like it was a lot of content in order to just kind of reach that conclusion, which was actually pretty much in line with what we had talked about, is that this needs to be built in a very modular fashion, and that we kind of need templates in order to tell the AI what and how we should build it. So I can't simply rely on the AI to do all of the work for me. I can guide AI to give me the answers that I need and the information I need in order to feed back to AI in order to properly build this the way that we want to build it. Okay, so I wrote out basically a summary of the idea. We're going to be building this one in Llama 3.1 405 billion parameter model. And I actually haven't done much coding with this one, but I've heard really good things. And the previous one that I ran out of context and have been working with most often recently has been Claude. I got away from ChatGPT after OpenAI embarrassingly added the former director of the NSA to their board. And I was like, well, I'm not going to participate in that stupid shit anymore. So I went over to Claude, but honestly, the cost difference and the fact that I cannot, this may be the one place where it's possible the results of Llama are enough different that it makes sense to use a larger proprietary model. But so far, in my experience, Llama 3.1 has been good enough, like really good at a lot of things, that I cannot tell the difference. I have an episode of AI Unchained, or Open Source AI is Winning, or something. I can't remember what it's called. I'll have the link in the description right there if you want to check it out. We're going to use Venice AI, which is Venice.ai, which is a service that is running the open source Llama 3.1 model. And just for reference, so you understand what the cost difference is, Claude charges $20 a month, so does ChatGPT. Venice.ai charges $50 a year, which is a significant, it's like $4.50-ish a month, $4 and some change a month. So big cost difference, especially considering the fact that I cannot personally tell a huge difference in the outcome. This may be the time. This may be one of those situations where we do figure out how it is different, but we'll see. Let's get into this. So I've got my description of the app just to give an overview starting what we are going into with Llama 3.1. I think the more information you give the AI, the better it is, as long as you're not exploding out the context window, which in this case is just a page. We just kind of go over everything that we talk about with Devs Who Can't Code 3 and 4. I want a kind of a small window, a sidebar on my screen with a little drop zone. I want to take a file or folders or a group of files, anything. I want to drop it in there, and I want it to take that as an input And then I want to be able to apply different functions to it. And what I want to be able to do is in this environment is build little tiny apps very, very quickly. Basically like in a Python environment or in Automator on Mac, is that you can test build, you can build these little things, you can paste in the code just from a text editor, and then you can hit run and see how it works and see if it works. And that's what I want to do. I want to be able to do that so that you don't have to install or package this code. You can just put in the instructions, put in the code in this environment, and then the app, it's encased within the app itself, and then you can just execute code and you can test stuff and see if it works. And if it doesn't work, you can iterate a little bit and then run it again. And this would let you basically create these tiny apps far, far quicker, enable you to iterate on them quicker and make use of them in a simpler fashion. You don't have to package applications and compile and all of this stuff. You can just run it in an environment that basically has all of this. You do that once for the Tiny Apps app, and then from there on out, it actually works entirely inside of the app. So that's the description here, and I give some examples, convert GIF to WebP, and this is where I want to start. That'll probably be in the next episode of trying to get one function to work, just because I know exactly we're going to use FFmpeg. I know exactly the kind of tools we'll need, and I want to know what we will run into as hangups for communicating with a different application, or whether or not we need to create like a Docker container and install it inside of that specifically for the Tiny App OS thing that we've got here. I need to come up with a better name, but right now it's Tiny App OS, I guess. So I'm going to go back and I'm just going to do the starter app from pair. And that is another big thing. So the pair stack is something I've talked about on the other show. And this is also a crazy awesome way to deliver new code, to deliver an app to people. I would be able to just share a key, and then you would be able to load it directly from my computer and then install it or run it directly on yours, or dump it and install it as if you have like an application. And this is entirely peer-to-peer. It is really cool, but they also have a baseline starter application. So you can just create a desktop app and have kind of a foundation to start with. So this is all of our stuff, and I'm just going to copy the whole thing. I'm going to go back to, close this, ask a question privately, not if you are broadcasting it out on YouTube. Above is the description and layout of the app I am trying to build entirely with an LLM. I only want you to take this as a reference so we can get started, but you don't need to do anything specific at this stage. Simply account for the above details. Thank you. See what happens. By the way, thank you. A little trick, which this is of no great consequence and it's probably already been trained out. But read the above details. I'm ready to help you build the Tiny App OS user interface. To begin, I will assume the Tiny App OS will have a minimalistic and intuitive user interface. That is true. This is really all I wanted to get at this point, but let's see where it's leading us. Focus on simplicity and ease of use. Based on the provided description, it seems the app will consist of several components, including a drop-down, a list of tiny apps, scripts will be executed. Yes, a filter system to automatically filter out incompatible scripts. Yes, but that's not a version one thing, that's just nice to have. 4, a queue system to keep track of the progress of individual functions. A sidebar for navigation and customization. No, why is it? I said a sidebar like. We'll remove number 5. A settings page for user preferences, yes. We'll put that behind a hamburger. I will now provide a high-level overview of how the user interface can be constructed. Homepage will display the drop-down list of available tiny apps and search bar. Sidebar will contain a list of pages, including scripts, settings, home, script detail block. Let's remove item number 4. I don't want a sidebar in the actual interface. I want this very minimal with only the drop and the list of scripts below it. Okay, so let's dig in and start building this UI. We're actually just going to start this, and then I want to go back to pair. I want to start the pair app. So pair help, pair init. So we're going to create an initial project files, cd tinyapp llama. Right. Pair init y tiny app. So let's double check. We have just done all of the defaults. And now let's go to Visual Studio Code and boom, we have our app. So this is the app.js and this is the index. This is what we're going to see. This is the visual page of the app itself. Let's see what happens if I just copy paste this as text. What does it look like? These are the contents, and you give me a basic version of the interface described above, just the main page for now, and let me know where to add this into my app. Let's see what happens. All right, create a new HTML file, and this will be called main.html, and add the following code. All right, well, let's do that, even though this is obviously just, we have index.html. Let's do new folder, deprecated, and we're just going to do backups here. All right, and then create a custom CSS file and paste the following. Okay, so I guess it's wanting me to load the index.html and have it pull in the main. And then I also, so that's this code, and then we want the styles. And that's also something with the style, is that I want to be able to create like themes and to change this later. So I'm thinking that every single item will probably need to be pieced out from the CSS, and then the CSS will maybe call information, or I don't know. We'll figure that out later. But right now we're just going to create a styles.css. Okay. And then we will paste this, and we will save everything. I'm just Command S-ing this sucker. Okay, so we have our first set of code that it has sent us. We don't have an app itself yet. And again, I'm actually going to go ahead and make a tinyapps. Maybe tinyapps, and then functions itself will be another folder. Functions. So these will be things that the individual tinyapps call, and then they will all be back in the main app.js. So I think that's probably how we'll do the setup and break down a lot of the pieces of this thing. But regardless, I just wanted to have that out of the way so that I can kind of see this organization here, and then we will jump right into testing this. Okay, for some reason it wasn't working, and I think I realized why. I was actually using, if you'll see in this conversation, I'm using the Theta 8 billion parameter model. I forgot to actually switch my model to the Llama 3.1. And so I actually tried to run this with by the way you do it is pair run. You navigate to the folder. So you're going to do CD and then whatever folder you're in. And if you don't know exactly what the folder is, you can literally just drag and drop, and then it will take you to the folder. Well, actually, why does this have anything? I don't know. That's weird. Anyway, whoops. It would normally just put that in there, but there's this weird thing that happens sometimes if you're still running a command. That's what it should look like. Users, guy, tiny app, functions, whatever. But I don't want to do that because I've already done this. So I am in the folder, as you see, tiny app llama folder. And I want to pair, run, and then just a dot because that means the folder that we are in. I want to run the one that we already have. And so this is what it was. And I was like, okay. Last time I did this with Claude and I got a simple UI the first time. And that's when I was like looking through. So I tried to run this, but the entire screen is blank. And it says, can you make the following changes? Blah, blah, blah. And it's worried about the style thing. And then that's when I recognized that we were on an 8 billion parameter model and that this was probably going to be an issue. And so I jumped over to the Llama 3.1 and my first thing, can you check the conversation above and find out why the app isn't loading? And it seems to actually have an answer. Is we created a main.html file, but we're not using it. Instead, we're trying to render it in the index. And that we have that following code. So we're not rendering anything inside this div, so we're trying to render it in the app.js file. So we want to copy this and change the render main page function in app.js, which there isn't one. So I'm guessing I can just paste it right here at the end, and then we're going to save it and remove the main HTML file. So I'm actually going to just copy this over and put it in the HTML file. And then we're going to delete this. Move to trash. And then we're going to save. And then, let's see what happens. Wait, did I close the other one? I did. Pair run, period. And look at that. The most important thing that you can do in order to secure your Bitcoin is to use a secure, trusted, long-running hardware wallet in the Bitcoin space, and do one that is Bitcoin only, like the Cold Card. Not only do they have the Cold Card Mark IV, which is the cypherpunk calculator, but they also now have the Cold Card Q, which has the large screen, has a full QWERTY keyboard, has a flashlight, and a QR code scanner. It is the cypherpunk BlackBerry of the Cold Card series. And if you are looking to keep your Bitcoin safe and you want all of those advanced features, you want to do some custom setup with multi-sig, you want security features for those edge case scenarios where you need a brick me pin or a dummy pin that opens up to a fake wallet, the Cold Card has it all. And if you don't want to complicate your setup or you don't need any of those advanced features, you can use it simply as a secure default Bitcoin signing device. Keep your seed, keep your keys off of your desktop computer, off of your phone, and securely and easily use your Bitcoin. If you do not have a Cold Card or you haven't even checked it out yet, go to coinkite.com. The link will be right in the show notes. And don't forget that when you are at your checkout, the code Bitcoin Audible, all one word, will get you a discount. That will also be right in the show notes in case you forget about it. Keep your keys safe and get yourself a Cold Card. All right, so we have a basic app. It does not have a proper header, so I can't even like move this around at this point. But it does look like we have a clear drag and drop zone, and we have a clear place for a list. Let's go back here, copy the code for the app. And we're going to save this. We're going to go back to, actually, I'm just going to overwrite all of these. And then we're going to do the index.html as well. I'm going to get rid of the, I still don't know about this stoplight buttons thing, but we'll see. We'll see. Let's close. We're going to Control C this, and then we're going to Control C again. This is that thing where I just hit the up button and it has all this. I don't know why that happens exactly. But now we're going to try to run it again. Okay. So yeah, it has it has two buttons and functions. Okay, so this is funny. It doesn't do anything. All right. Can you give me just the updated HTML file, but remove the stoplight buttons bar to move around the window? All right. So I'm going to get it to refresh this. Padding, margin, blah, blah, blah. This might be a really roundabout, goofy way to do it, but I want to see what happens. Interesting. Okay. So that does work, and there is a scroll bar. Still odd. And now it doesn't work. That's so weird. So I don't need this. Okay. All right. So this is easy. We're actually going to go back to the drawing board. And this is the sort of thing that you're going to run into a lot with AI. I'm going to create a new starter app. Tiny app llama v2. And I'm going to, because I want to see what it looks like without anything at all. I'm going to, whoops, CD, drop this one in there. And now I'm going to do pair init Y for the default application. And then I'm going to open folder. And I'm going to do version 2 here. And now we are starting from scratch again. So title bar height, padding top. So now that we have our basic starter app, I want to run it and see how, okay. So this is what I need, and I don't want to change any more of this. So this gives me my title bar height or WebKit app region drag height, padding. Okay. Can you just work from this and modify it as needed? Uh-oh, she's getting sluggish. I think our conversation's getting big already. Yeah. This might be bad. All right, we're going to start a new chat. We're going to keep fighting with this thing. We're building an application with the so close this one. Index.html. No, not in there. Index.html. And then we will paste. And now we'll close and close. Let's see what this looks like. All right, so we got a drop zone. And we got to convert GIF to WebP. and we're still showing desktop, which I don't want actually. Can we create a CSS file and update that so that this looks better in dark mode? Right now we have a dark background, but I can't really read the dark text on it. This might not do it here. Kind of feeling like it's not leading us in the right direction here. Like it's giving me details that should just be in the CSS file. That's what that seems like to me. Like I just need to be div bar, div like whatever the thing is, and it is not giving it to me. See what happens. No harm in testing. And I'm going to delete this. See if I'm an idiot or not. Don't need that twice. All right. Let's give it a shot. We're going to close the one we've got. Close, close. I'm hitting Control-C twice, by the way, because I'm still not 100% sure. First, it closes out that thing, and then I still have to do it again for some reason. I'm not sure why. All right, much better. Now, I think this is simple. Like if I can drag and drop something into this will do what I want it to do for now. In fact, here's a test. So, and it looks like it highlights as soon as I do a drop. Obviously it doesn't do anything right now because it's not got a function or anything behind it, but it highlights when I want to drop a file, and it's got my list convert GIF to WebP, and this is what I want to do here. So now I want to add a item called current file into the app, which will let me update with anything that I add into the drop zone. When I drag an image into the drop zone, it will display the name of the file size. Right now I just want to get a file and I want to update the current file item. File size and the file type. All right, let's see what it does. Okay, so we've got to the drop zone element, and this will be in the app.js. So I'm going to copy this. I'm going to go ahead and throw that into the app.js. And this is after you click on the title, apparently. Yeah, add event listener click, and it turns it into a pair instead. So, whatever, that's cool. We'll leave that for now. And then in the head, we already have the style. So in the body, we want to add this. Bar, desktop drop zone, current file. Drag and drop a file here. I still kind of wonder if this is not going to work, but we'll find out. Let's see what we've got as a duplicate. So current file, ID tinyapp list. So this would delete this, and we also have the desktop and drag and drop file here. So this does replace this entirely in the body. So we're going to update this. And we're going to save the app.js. And now we're going to close this guy again. And we're going to close this. And then we are going to do pair run. And that's still working. And let's just see. Oh, no. See, current file. Yeah. Yeah, I think what we have here, let's change this. Instead of showing the current file information below the drop zone, have it appear inside the drop zone to replace the instructions for dropping files. Give it to me. Damn it. All right, drop zone instructions. Yep. Tinyapps list, blah, blah, blah. Hides the current file element initially and shows drop instructions element. When it's dropped, it updates the current file element with the file's information and shows it while hiding the drop instructions element. Now when you drag and drop a file into the drop zone, the instructions will be replaced. Right? The code necessary to clear change it back to the drop zone instructions. Have a small X appear in the top right of the drop zone. You know what, I'm going to get rid of this because no, I won't. I'm not touching it. I'm not touching it. I'm more likely to break something for a very stupid reason. Here I am, HTML body. Actually, I don't remember if I have other things in this body. Okay, I do not, but whatever. This is the Swan Bitcoin app, and this is how easy it is to just buy Bitcoin whenever you're feeling like it. And I feel like it right now. And as it shows me right here, I still have $9,388 worth of my $10,000 of Bitcoin buying that has no fees whatsoever. And now I have $10 more worth of Bitcoin. I do this quite often. One of the really great things about Swan is the incredible number of resources they have for learning and understanding anything that you want to know about Bitcoin. And importantly, they're going to teach you why you should not trade. They're not going to encourage you to trade. They are Bitcoin only. If you're looking for an easy and reliable way to get into Bitcoin, if you're looking to put Bitcoin in your IRA, if you're looking to put Bitcoin in your business, if you're looking to do anything around getting on a Bitcoin standard or getting exposed to Bitcoin in your portfolio, check out swanbitcoin.com/guy is my special link, and you will find it very conveniently right in the show notes. All right. So we did do that. Control C it, and we're going to run it again. I'm going to drop this GIF in here. Current file. Okay. Boom. That's what we've got. That's what I want to see. I like it. And I can change the settings and spacing and that sort of stuff if I want to, but this is the basic idea. And make that desktop go away. We're going to Control C this. Now we're going to go back down here. Clear button, add to the style sheet. We're going to clear button this. Show current file, display, span ID, clear button. Okay. So we're going to go to styles.css, tinyapps list. We're going to actually do this underneath the drop zone hover. Clear button goes right here because that goes in the drop zone. And let's save it. Then we want to add this. Oops, I think I clicked off first. Spans. This is after the body div. Oh, whoops. Drop zone instructions. Div. I think I put it in the wrong place. Div current file div right after the current file div. Okay, so it was right here. So I paused it just because I was having a handful of little annoying bugs and I didn't want to just record the tedium of going through and trying to fix one thing. But this is something you're going to run into a lot, is where one little thing isn't working. I mean, this is just coding as I understand it, and this is computers. When you're doing anything custom or hacking or doing anything, like there's one stupid little problem that just takes hours, days, weeks even to figure out. Luckily, this one was when I realized my recording was getting obnoxiously long, I went ahead and just stopped it. But I wanted to customize the clear button a little bit. So I just kind of asked, what Unicode character are there, and asked it to give me the exact Unicode symbols, whatever you want to call it, the format in order to pull that Unicode symbol. And I might actually use this one, but right now it's not really that important. But it wasn't appearing in the interface. So here is the clear button CSS. And I kind of felt like there was something about the position that was causing some sort of a problem, but I didn't want to presume that that's what it was, because this didn't have anything, I don't think, on the position at that point. But it told me to do a position relative for the drop zone. And I thought that was odd. For some reason, my brain, intuitively, I was thinking the opposite. So what I did, when I just saw this, I added the position relative. I changed the absolute to relative. And interestingly, what it actually did was, it was actually showing up here. It was showing up underneath. In fact, I'm pretty sure I can just do this again. Drag and drop. Yeah, so it was showing up underneath. So it's just giving me somehow in relation to where that shows up, span ID, clear button. So it's showing up underneath the current file. Somehow, I don't know exactly how these things relate to each other. But regardless, whether or not I have this absolute or relative, it shows up at the bottom here. And it works. It works. It's just not where I wanted it. So I ended up changing this to absolute. But these are things that you can literally just tinker with, because you're not really going to break much of anything by changing these. You're just going to move stuff around and change colors. So this is where you can really just kind of experiment as you will, now that the kind of function that we're looking for is actually working. Instead of the X with the parenthesis, I can do this guy right here. And go back. Yeah, so there's our big fat X in the top right corner. So again, you can just totally play around with all of this stuff and just know that there's usually like 3 pieces. Like everything, it's got a function, then it's got a style, and then it has, like in the hierarchy of how these things relate, it's got a basic location in the HTML, in the HTML layout, and that's where you're going to be changing things. And I think kind of building a natural understanding or a feel for how these things relate is a really important part of this, because this is something that I've not really had like a strong, as you can see, I kind of just point and shoot. I do all of my exploration of computers through trial and error. And I've always felt like that's a pretty good way to learn, even though it's messy and kind of a pain in the butt. You do just kind of get an intuition about how these things work slowly over time. It's kind of like beating your face against a book really, really hard for a really, really long time, and the information just like kind of slowly seeps into your brain. You know what I think? I think what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to copy the file and get it to ask me for a place to save it. Because that's something that I know it doesn't need any external programs. It doesn't need, or what it will indicate is that I do explicitly have this file that I can work and run commands on. Because if I can run copy on it, well, then I can swap out copy for anything else. And I just know that the program has our current file. It is this one, and that I can now commit, I can now run actions on it. And then that will be a great place to stop this episode. And then this can be whatever you want. But I want to show you the reason we're using pair runtime for this. And this is the coolest thing about all of this. But we'll get there in just a second. Now I want to add a simple single function copying the file. All right. So we are looking for a simple duplicate file option. This thing has been slowing down really bad. I think my context window is getting huge. We have a JavaScript function that is doing this copying. If we are extending out our app every single time inside this, inside the app.js, this is going to get huge and completely unwieldy. Like just impossible to work with very, very quickly, which is why this, if we can start working with this and just use the simple, it allows us to kind of have that block of code to work from. And then we can go back to our folder or to our folder setup, make the tiny app for just that one piece, and then figure out how to have this app call it based on what the name is maybe in the HTML list, like just so that when we are adding a large list, and you notice it says in the following HTML, in the tiny apps list element, we add copy file. Well, we want to be able to propagate a list as its own item. So we need to be calling the tiny apps list from another thing. So we're trying to make this as modular as possible so that when the HTML, the app interface itself doesn't need to have a list item for, if this thing gets 1,000 deep and we've got like 1,000 tiny apps in this thing, I don't want to have to write out a list of 1,000 things and then manually edit that. I just want it to call the list, and then we can edit and change, add to the list itself as a single item. So just an example there of how this is not giving us the way we want to build it, and we have to kind of know that framework in order to direct it in the right direction. All right, so I'm going to paste this. This needs to go up the top just because that seems organized to me. And we've got the event listener. Let's assume this is right. I'm not gonna look through this stuff right now to try to guess it. Otherwise, I'm just gonna see what happens if it goes wrong. And then this code will not work as expected because if we don't have a file property on the current file element, we need to store the file object when the user drops it. Okay, so all we did was pull information. We did not create the... Okay, only one line was changed. Store the file object, which we had not done. Cool. Got that sorted. All right, and then in the list... Yeah. Just right here. Okay, we'll save that. All right, so this is the moment of truth. This will be the first time that I've actually made a function on the file work. And shockingly, this is with Llama 3.1. This will be as fair. I'm knocking, God, I need to knock on wood so hard right now. This would be the furthest I've gotten with this to date. All right, I have copy file. It's so fast. Shit. Got crap everywhere. Yes, we're going to do tiny app llama, and we're just going to stick it in the first one. Oh my God. Oh my God. It worked. I have a tiny app that copies a file. It worked. My code works, and I have no idea why. Oh my God. And then if I hit copy file again, it does not clear the object. Wait, no. .text. Interesting. Okay, I'm going to save this. So this is why you just play around, because you just find out that something else is how it is. I don't know what any of that is. I've just got like this huge text file that is like the default. Is this like the whole app? I don't even know. That will be something that I'm going to work out. I'm going to ask Llama 3.1, why on earth, after I cleared it, did I get this giant text file to save? And I'm going to work through this like a bug. And I'm just going to make sure that we clear the block and the file is empty and there's nothing there. In fact, maybe I'll give it a little bit of an error message that says, there's no file here. Maybe it would, actually that would be easier, is you can just make the drag and drop file flash. Dude, there's no file. Drop me one. And then this is where you can start getting into settings or whatever, or customize, and then you can add like a little hamburger thing so that you can move up and down on the list and see what's what. Eventually add in a search bar right here so that when this is 1,000 deep, I can easily just type in whatever I want. And yeah, there's so much stuff we can do with this. If we figure out how to make the modularity and we understand how to build it in such a way that I think you can connect this to Ollama and have your own little AI thing running in here. And this would be something that would be really cool also to plug into Nostr. And I could just have this sucker open. And if I ever have a thought that I want to post to Nostr, I could just be like, government sucks and everybody shouldn't listen or trust them. And then boom, and I post to Nostr. But here's the kicker. Here's the really cool thing that I think makes this just awesome. I mean, just freaking awesome. Is pair. We can also stage and seed this project. We'll learn a little bit about pair runtime while we're doing this. But here's the crazy thing, is that I can actually, oh, wait a second, I can do this right now. I bet I can. Pair seed. No link specified. Pair seed. Channel like seed or reseed, specify a channel or a key to seed a project. What the hell is a channel? You gotta help me out, man. And we're gonna go to documentation. Okay, here we go. Pair channel must be specified on first stage in order to generate the initial key. We use the channel name dev. Okay. So I just make up a channel name. It's just arbitrary. Like pair stage custom channel name. Pair stage production. So we're just going to do test. I guess I like test. So we're going to do pair stage test. We're just going to do directory, the one we're in. Current version is 2. So here we go. All right. So here is the kicker. Check this out. We are going to my Linux machine. Here we go. I'm pasting it in Keat here. And then I want to pair seed. Pair. So I'm just going to pair seed. Or I guess I need to close that maybe. Pair seed test. Okay. Yeah, so that's correct. And now I'm going to, again, I'm just going to open this link. I'm just going to click on it and we're going to see what happens. And look at that. I'm going to copy it. I'm going to put it in a music folder. And there it is. So I'm running this application off of my Mac. So keep in mind that this is not on GitHub. This is not on any other platform. Like all I did was I built this, and you saw how rough draft I was building this. Staged it with pair runtime, seeded it, and then I could boot it up on my Linux machine. And this is not a local delivery thing. This is going out to the DHT like a peer-to-peer network like BitTorrent, and then it is loading it up, finding me on that, coming back and running the app. The Linux machine was running the app to the point that I could copy the file. I could use it entirely within seconds of having it completed on my Mac. When we start thinking about like really making these things modular, really designing them more thoughtfully in how they are built and what we can do with these LLMs, which again, this was Llama 3.1. This was an open source LLM that I am using. And so what we can do with these in combination with the pair runtime tools and the ability to deliver both the applications, to run the applications live from the cloud of people that are all running the application at the same time, and then also to be able to deliver files, to be able to update tinyapps lists, to be able to share them, even sell them to each other with Bitcoin or Lightning. What we could unleash if we understood how to properly connect these tools together could be really, really big. There's still just a lot of groundwork to do. And then also people aren't familiar, that aren't aware a lot of that a lot of these tools are out there. I hope you can begin to see the potential here and why I created Devs Who Can't Code and what I could see coming, what I hope I see coming. I don't hope, I just did it. I just did it. Like right there. That's cool. I don't know. I can't not see that as like a huge deal of what I just accomplished between my two computers, especially with the unbelievable difficulty that I have just moving files from one machine to another on a typical day of working with podcasts and editing video and all the other crap that I do. So I hope you guys stick with me. I hope you guys subscribe just down below when you really can see how powerful this is. And I hope you learn to, if you're way better at, if you can actually code, holy crap, please just use these tools. If you can't, then maybe take this weird, messy, really obnoxious journey with me and see if you can build with LLMs. And maybe you can be a dev who can't code too. So with that, I hope you enjoyed this episode of Devs Who Can't Code. I hope you check out AI Unchained, my podcast, and the Pair Report, which is more specific about all of these tools. And I will catch you on the next episode of AI Unchained. Or, nope, that's not what this is. I'll catch you on the next episode of Devs Who Can't Code. And until then, guys, take it easy.